So,
guys.
Tiffany, will
Let's
you
do
give us
it.
like a little hello welcome
I
and we'll
will.
dive in?
Yes. So, trying to make sure I'm monitoring. Allison, you're a co-host, so if you want to help me monitor the waiting room, just so we make sure we're not leaving anyone out there. So, Allison, this is my first retreat, and Allison invited me to do it a few months ago when her usual co-leader, Dinty Moore, had to drop out. So it's not only my first retreat, it's my first international retreat. And I inexplicably, I wrote about this in my blog, took like 3 days to decide, which Allison was very lovely about while I was like, should I do it? Should I not? And I asked her 4,000 questions. And finally, with the help of my best friend, I realized, of course, I have to do it. It sounds amazing. But because I had so many questions and I didn't know what to expect from a retreat, I thought it might be nice to share some of what Allison and I talked about and then also just keep exploring some of it because Allison leads them all the time. And she has actually led some at the place, Clos Mirabel. Am I saying that right? In Po.
Yep,
I
yep.
don't do the French, so I'm trying to learn it between now and August. So, really, this is for me to pick Allison's brain, and for all of y'all, if you have any questions, put them in the chat. I'm going to monitor it, but I'm mostly going to let you take the reins here, Allison, and just let us know like what is the retreat? What does it consist of? Who's it for? What are we going to do day by day? What is the place like? Anything that you can tell us that might, help everyone understand like you did for me.
Absolutely. So I am going to share screen for a second and just give us all a sense of where we're going to be. We also have with us today our travel advisors, Dave Williams and Karen Ballard. We'll give them a chance to say hello as well. But so you can see that Po is right here. It's kind of down next to Spain. It's in between the Pyrenees Mountains and the city of Toulouse. And so usually when people come, they fly into Bilbao or they fly into Toulouse, or I'm going to zoom out just a little bit more. We're also pretty close to Bordeaux as well. And you can also fly into Bordeaux there. It looks farther than it is. Bordeaux to Po is about a 2 hour drive. Toulouse to Po is also about a 2 hour drive, even though it's closer because it goes through the beautiful Pyrenees National Park. And the Pyrenees is just an absolutely gorgeous location to be in. I'd like to show you all a few photographs. So let me go ahead and switch my screen share there and show you a little bit of what is happening in there. And let me change my screen share. Okay. So we have here a beautiful view of the chateau, which is just a gorgeous place in France. It's outside the town of Po, super adorable. Now, will this actually change my screen share for me if we change it? It
Allison,
will not. Okay, so yeah.
Tony's asking, how close is it to Andorra and
You
Bilbao?
know, that's a really good question. So it's close to Bilbao by about 90 minutes. It's a really easy trip to Bilbao. I know some people actually went to go see the Bilbao Museum. The last time we were there, the really nice Guggenheim Bilbao. So you're going to see a little bit of confusingness here while I open some stuff on my screen, because I would like to show you all of these cool, exciting photos. Um, Here we also have the cheese course. One of the things I really, really like about Clos Mirabel is the meals. We have an amazing cheese course at pretty much just about every single meal, including breakfast. They make some fabulous desserts as well. We have a private chef who does all of our cooking in the entire time that we are there. And we do cater to both vegetarians and vegans, as well as us meat eaters. There is a European style continental breakfast with eggs and cold cuts and little local cheeses and fruits and yogurts and all kinds of tasty stuff. They make delicious desserts every night after dinner. And we also have 3 meals a day, either inside or outside. So inside, we have this gorgeous table and dining room that gets all set up for us. Outside, there is a beautiful terrace. And whenever the weather is worthwhile, we eat outside on the beautiful terrace. which is also really just lovely and adorable and fantastic to be in. Last time we were there, it was May, so we did have a little bit of rain. This time it's August, and I think in August it should be pretty clever and pretty cool and pleasant because we're up in the mountains, so it doesn't get super hot. This was
So
one
I
of
was
our
wondering about
starters.
that.
Yeah.
I know there's hiking. What is the temperature around this time of year, beginning of August?
So it is sweaters in the evening because it gets cool in the evening in the mountains. So you might want a little jumper, you might want a little cardigan, maybe a shawl or a scarf. And then during the day, it does get warm enough to swim in the pool, which is right out front. And really an enjoyable place to spend time. I know we had some brave people who swam in May as well, but I think it will be even better to swim in August, as it were. So, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the location in a little while. But Tiffany, what else do you want to know about the gorgeousness of Clos Mirabel?
Well, the rooms themselves, I know you can see on the link, but you were saying they all have a private bathroom, which was very important to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. Like my first questions were about the retreat itself, and then the place was such a bonus. I know we get two downtime days. One is a guided hike with guided writing exercises, I think. And then the other,
Yep.
correct me if I'm wrong, and then a day off to just explore Poe. So maybe people want to know a little bit about what is nearby.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just showing you a couple of pictures of our classroom. We have a really nice big classroom where we all get enough elbow room to put our laptops up on the table. And one of the things that I really love doing, and I do these on most of my retreats, is we share little signs that say, I'm focused, please come back later, so that anytime you are writing, you can be in the living room, you can be at the dining room table, you can be in the classroom, you could be out on a lounge by the pool, you can put up your little I'm focused sign, and everybody knows from day one, don't talk to anybody who's got the I'm focused sign on, or for that matter, anybody with headphones in their ears. We do take a day and we go and do a little hike in the mountains. It is a relatively easy hike. It's sort of a long, slow, flat uphill. There are friendly cows along the way. And the cows are great because they all wear these cowbells. So it makes this beautiful ding sound all over the mountains, which I really like. And when we get up the mountain, we have a gorgeous view of the valley. And from there, we
Oh,
also
wow.
do some writing. There's an ancient stone circle that's up near the top of the mountain, and we go hang out in the ancient stone circle. We hear a little bit about the history of it. And then last time we did an exercise where we did writing from a prompt with our notebooks, just kind of sitting with the stones, and then shared a little bit of the work that we had created there.
So, when we first talked, I told you that I was a writing retreat virgin. I didn't even know what to expect. Like, did we just go and write all day long? Were we hovering over everyone's shoulder? So maybe it would be a good idea for us to talk about like the scope of the days and what's planned for the curriculum and what's going to be on offer for people's writing and how much downtime do they have to do their own writing, that kind of thing.
Absolutely. I think that is a fantastic idea. So there is lots of time to do both classwork and your own work. I'm just going to pop over to the schedule here. And so, our typical days, we start with a craft lesson. Either Tiffany or I will teach a lesson on writing craft or on story structure. You'll have guided writing time to apply the lesson to your own pages. And then Tiffany and I will also do live editing. Now, if you have not previously experienced live editing, that is where we share volunteer pages on the screen that everybody can see. We read aloud, suggesting edits as we go, and making the edits on the pages and track changes so that you can see what it looks like when we apply those edits, periodically jumping out and going, okay, so here's what we have just done with Noreen's pages. Now, Anthony, you're going to apply this to your pages like this. And Lainey, you're going to apply this to your pages like that. And Cindy, you're going to want to apply it to your pages like this. So we really try to make sure that even when we're looking at one person's work, we're all getting the benefit of how to apply that to our own work as well. Tiffany, I know that one of the things that happens with writing is some retreats are more, let us write from prompts and let us feel our journaling and let us go deep into our hearts and explore the world of writing. And you and I are a little bit different than that focus. How do you like to teach, Tiffany?
I would say I'm a little more type A with teaching. So what I really liked when you and I talked, Allison, was you have a very clear structure. I see you're pulling it up right now, where every day is like a specific, I think you called it a craft talk, which is kind of like a condensed version of some of the bigger classes you and I both teach. At least that's my understanding of it, where we focus on a specific issue and then hopefully we see how that applies to each person's writing. And then I love that you sort of worked in the live edits to illustrate the thing that we're working on or talking about that day. So it feels more focused to me. Like I like the touchy-feely stuff, but it's not how I work really well. And one of the things that drew me to this retreat with you was the fact that there is structure, but there is also free writing time. So for me, that would be like the exact right balance.
Exactly. I like to think of it as we are the still life sketching or the ballet or the opera of writing, where yes, there is heart. Yes, there is connecting deeply with the material that you're working with, but there is also precision and there is technique because writing is magic, but writing is also a kit of tools that you can use to immediately make your work better and level up your craft for everything you write next. So a typical, sorry, go ahead, Tiffany.
You talked about customizing some of this for like when we get there, talking about goals and then customizing some of what we're teaching toward the particular attendees. You did say a minute ago, like when we do the live edits, we'll say this is how it would apply to your work. But how does that work as far as like the goal setting and tailoring what we're talking about every day? Because I know we're going to have probably a mix of
Mhm.
essayists, memoirists, novelists.
Absolutely. So, like, for example, on our first day, we'll all set our goals. And I always like to take notes on those so I kind of know what everybody is getting towards. And then I adjust my craft lesson slides for the rest of the week to make sure that we're tackling what everybody needs. On our first day, I'm planning on doing a craft talk about dramatic structure and how structures can support your memoir, your novel, your essay, your collection, but you can choose to work against it as well, because one of the great things we have as writers is surprise as well. We'll also look at how do you use structure to plan your book or shape your revisions depending on where you are in the process. And if you're pretty close to done, how can we use structure to increase that impact even more? Typically, then after the craft talk, we'll do some live editing. And I think on day one, we're going to do first pages. Then
Love
we
that.
have a lovely lunch all together. There's some time between live editing and lunch where everybody is able to work on their own thing, apply more of the lessons that we've just done. Afterwards, we will have office hours on some of our days where we will schedule one on one meetings with everybody. And if you're not having a meeting at that moment, you have free time to write by yourself or to write with somebody else if you want to have a writing buddy from within the class. And then again, there's some more free time before dinner. And typically we have aperitifs and then I have talked to our French hosts because last year they were like, and dinner is at 8. And I'm like, dude, I'm an American. I really need my dinner at like 6 so that then I can like go to bed and think things and think about my thoughts and answer my emails that have built up today and then get up good and early to get started tomorrow. So our hosts have conceded to a dinner that starts at 6:30 and we have aperitifs at 6 and then we have dinner at 6:30. Wine is included. All of the meals are included except the day that you have a free day to go into Po, and we can recommend some great restaurants in Po as well. Notice as well that we will also have a couple of lunches where we have a specific talk. So one day we're going to talk about publishing paths. So much has opened up in the world. Tiffany, are you seeing more people going traditional these days? Are you seeing more people going self or indie or hybrid? What kind of trends are you seeing?
One thing I have been seeing a lot is that authors who are self-publishing are increasingly getting picked up by traditional. But I'm kind of seeing the same spreads I always did. I don't get a lot of hybrid for some reason, but I do see a lot of authors who are almost most of the authors I work with initially want to try traditional publishing, but a lot of them are also in their back pocket thinking about self-publishing, thinking about small press, which is, I guess, traditional, but
It
depending on how you
moves
do it.
faster.
It moves a lot faster. It's funny, I was just talking with Angela Ackerman and Bella Puglisi yesterday. They're the ones who do the emotion thesaurus. Yeah, I know you know Angela. And they were talking about how it never occurred to, well, it did occur to them, but they very quickly decided that traditional publishing wasn't for them. And so I think one thing I do see is that the stigma that used to be associated with self-publishing kind of isn't there anymore, which I think is great. It's sort of democratizing the industry even more.
I love it. And I have worked with authors, and so have you, who have gone on to be traditionally published New York Times bestsellers. I have also worked with self-publishers who have gone on to be
Mhm.
USA Today bestsellers and who have sold, the right number of books for them. It gets their message into the world, or it gets their story into the world, and they get to feel good about it. So we'll have a talk over lunch about publishing pads, what's available to you, what has changed in 2026, because I think we're seeing more shifts in the publishing landscape than ever before. We will have a lovely half day in the mountains, which is a gentle intermediate hike and lunch in a local village restaurant. We'll do a little bit of generative writing. And for this one, non-writing partners are also welcome to join us. And if you are not a hiker at all, you can enjoy the mountain views from the picnic area as well. We do bring along some comfy collapsible chairs, and we had a couple of people last time who opted out of the hike, stayed down below and enjoyed the stream and the cows and the views. It was really lovely. Um, You'll have a complete day off to go and explore Poe. And one of the things I love, so I know some of you are new to traveling, some of you are constant world travelers. If you are a constant traveler, one of the things that's really cool and different about Poe is it is full of antique stores, and not necessarily super high end expensive antique stores. There's a mix of like Goodwill level, but there's still really interesting stuff in it, up to like mid-level antique stores. And we have found so many interesting things there. We also took a trip last time. A couple of us went over to a place called Emmaus, which is like a giant rummage sale. I mean, it covers acres, but there's also a petting zoo and a temporary garden and, really beautiful things, really interesting things. And it was fascinating just to see all of these things that people had passed on, because Emmaus is a charity, and to think about the stories behind those things that appeared in
Mm.
the Emmaus warehouse.
A warehouse full of writing prompts.
Exactly. Exactly. We will also have a lunch talk where we talk about finding your readers and finding your audience. And that's also something where I'll be sending you some additional materials before you go. I've been working on basically some little app engines where you can find your ideal readers by entering stuff about your book. You can find your comp titles by entering stuff about your book. And these are things where when you do them in advance, it's going to spit out some material for you, and then we'll have a chance to talk about it and deepen that information for you about what in here is really inspiring you. How are you going to find your audience? Where are they going to be? Because in the long run, I really believe in writing as a consumer oriented medium. And I mean, consumer sounds kind of sterile, but I want readers. I want people to
Yeah.
read my work, and I want people to read your work.
And it's a business. If you are trying to share your work, it's a business whether you are trying to make money from it or not. So I like that approach.
Exactly. Exactly. Non-writing guests are absolutely welcome. I know last year we had a couple of husbands who came along and one wife who came along, and they come to all of our meals. And then some of them chose to hike. Some of them wanted to explore more around. I know there was a guy who went out to the beach at Donostia San Sebastian a couple of times. So there's really a lot of things for your partners to do as well if you would like them to come. Tiffany,
I got a,
I
I got a
go ahead.
question. I got a
Yeah.
question that I've been sitting on here in the chat. Anne wants to know if there is pickup from the Poe airport, or I guess about transfers to get to the Clos Mirabel.
Absolutely. So it's possible to arrange transfers either privately with our representatives. So we have TravelMate Pros who are preferred travel advisors. And full disclosure, Dave Williams and Karen Ballard, who run TravelMate Pros, are my younger brother and my sister-in-law. So we kind of keep it all in the family there. But it also means that if anything happens on the way, I am 100% confident that they are always going to pick up the phone and solve your problem. So you're totally welcome to book your own travel if you prefer that. Or we also provide you with Dave and Karen's contact information. And I think Dave will probably also drop it in the chat where you can arrange a private car pickup, or he can tell you this is the train you need to get. If you want to come from Paris to Po by train, you can do that. Many airlines come directly into Po. And yes, we can arrange a pickup from Po to the retreat as well. And I know Dave has just dropped in Karen and Dave's information. That's going to be Karen Ballard at travelmation.net. That's Mation with an M. Or you can text them at 813-486-1575. And that information is in the chat as well.
Um, you guys are welcome. Like, drop your question in the chat, or if anybody wants to unmute, like, I was hoping this would be sort of what I did with Allison, which is, for God's sake, help me understand this. And also specific questions like the sweater thing was very relevant for me. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Knowing how to pack is important. You said layers, so I'm
Oh,
assuming the
and
whole thing is pretty casual. Like it's just come as you are, wear your
yeah.
pajamas all day if you want.
You can absolutely wear your jammies if you like. I think last time most of us wore like jeans or comfy pants, and we wore like t-shirts or comfy sweaters while we're doing our writing stuff. And then I think some of us put on real pants when we went into Po. But it's a small town. It's a casual town. It's not like going to Paris where you feel like people are kind of side-eyeing. So DK asks, how many participants? So it really depends on how many people sign up. We max at 15. There will be no more than 15 writers with us this time around. And it might be smaller because I know you guys are all pretty brave, but there are some people who are considering whether or not they want to travel this year. For me in Europe, I can definitely say everybody is friendly and warm and kind to Americans. Nobody is like, politics, and we generally don't talk politics at our events at all because we all want to be away from that. No matter which beliefs you have, no matter what side you're on, we're just not, it's not what we're there to focus on. So it is a very chill environment. It is a very pleasant environment. And I find that with 15 and 2 teachers, it really means that everybody gets a lot of individual attention. And that's our max. It might be fewer than that.
2 points to yours, Allison. I just came from a 10-day trip cruising the Rhine, which was lovely. And we got to stop in so many towns, and which I thought was revealing a lot of small towns. And I found exactly what you said. Like people were incredibly nice and welcoming, and they did not seem to have any issues with Americans per se. So that was great. And then the other thing I just heard this morning from a couple of friends booking international travel, I just booked a trip for Stockholm not long ago, and it was out of sight. And I thought, oh, I guess airfares are going to be crazy for a while, but apparently they've just started to come down again. No clue why. So if it is something people are considering, it might not be prohibitive as far as an airfare standpoint.
Exactly. And let me ask Dave, would you go ahead and unmute yourself, Dave, and tell us, are you seeing any trends in airfares that we should be aware of?
No.
Honestly, what we are seeing right now is it's going up and down. There's been some great deals coming out for Europe. There's been some prices that have been skyrocketing. One of our favorite phrases in this business is airlines are the bane of our existence. You just honestly never know what they're going to do and when they're going to do it.
Okay. So yeah, so we can keep an eye on that. I know I've bought a couple of plane tickets. They have not been as expensive as I was dreading them to be.
Mhm.
We've got a great question from DK in the chat, which is what is the overall cost exclusive of getting across the pond? So they have bedrooms of different sizes and they've priced them at Clos Mirabel at different amounts. So you'll be able to find out what the actual price is of the bedroom that you want. And this includes all of your meals. It includes the day excursion. I'm going to say the least expensive bedroom is 1895 1895, 1995. The most expensive bedrooms, I think, are 2695, 2895, because they're quite large. Like, for example, this bedroom here has a working fireplace in it, which is really nice. Each bedroom is individually decorated, so you kind of get your own little moment of France in there as well.
And then the tuition is on top of that, correct?
Yes. And the
And that's
tuition is 895 euros. And so what happens is if you decide you'd like to do this, we'll give you the contact information for Clos Mirabel in our follow-up email today, or you also got it in the preliminary email. You make your deposit for your lodging with Clos Mirabel, and then we bill you separately for your tuition in there.
and
So
that's it, right? There's what you said, wine's included, everything's included. Is for those who need it, for those who are Hemingway-esque in their writing, is there a bar in addition to wine?
I don't drink alcohol, so I didn't really notice, but I know they offer aperitifs every night. So I believe there's wine, there's brandy, I believe there are a variety of drinks, and you can always also head down into Poe, and there's definitely bars in Poe. Tony asks a great question. In case of emergency, what is the access to and quality of medical care in Poe? So as a happy European expat, I can tell you French medical care is excellent. It is excellent. It is significantly lower priced than American healthcare. It is readily available, and there is a medium-sized hospital in Pau. And if anything really, really bad happened, we would take you either to Toulouse or Bordeaux. French ambulances are actually better equipped than American ambulances. The French tradition is there's fairly significant medical care that even happens within the ambulance, which I only learned because I was listening to a podcast about someone who had been in a car crash and they were like already getting treated on the way to the hospital, which was kind of intriguing and interesting because I know in America, a lot of times the EMTs are the firefighters. They're not necessarily medical professionals. Dave also notes in the chat that he also, our travel partners, they have a partner for trip protection insurance as well. I know for me, I use an Amex credit card to book my travel stuff, and that carries some travel insurance with it as well. And so Dave and Karen can definitely help you with travel insurance, including, if you need it, what they call cancel for any reason insurance. So if you're suspecting that something unexpected might be happening soon, you might want to get cancel for any reason insurance as well. So yeah.
Which I have done for a cruise, and it is as good as it sounds, and it saved our butts when our cruise line went out of business. So that was good. What do you guys want to know? I had so many questions about the retreat, and I'm hoping that we're hitting on a lot of the things you guys might want to know. But if not, like, does anybody have specific questions that they'd like to ask either directly or in the chat?
Yeah. And feel free
Hi,
to unmute
Amy.
yourself. Yeah. Tony, unmute yourself. Ask your question.
Hi. Your when I read the email on the website, it said this is for beginner to intermediate writers. How
Great
do you
question.
define intermediate?
So, why I think we say beginner to intermediate is because we don't want to frighten away people who are a little bit earlier. What I find is that because, and this is actually, I'm so glad you asked this, Tony, because one of the really important things to know about this retreat is we are not reading each other's pages in advance, and we are not workshopping each other's pages in class. We will be doing live editing and giving you information from us with the occasional contribution from the group, but the skill level of the other writers in the room does not really affect your experience that much, because what Tiffany and I will do is we'll have taken into account what did everybody say in their initial registration, what did everybody say on goal setting day. Oh, this person needs this technique to be a slightly simpler version. This person is ready to take this to a next level. Let's give them some extra tips on this. So we really will be adjusting in the moment to the skill level of the writers in the room. Anthony, are you feeling like you're ready to be challenged? Are you
Oh
ready
yeah,
to
I mean,
like level up there?
I want to be very severely edited. That's why I'm asking the question.
So yes, we would definitely do that. And every time we live edit, we also ask the person whose pages are being live edited, what kind of feedback do you need? And this is something for all of you to take into any writing group that you're in, whether it's a class, whether it's your writing buddies. It is so useful to say, hey, I have a central question about these pages. I want to know, is this dialogue working? Or I tried something new with setting. Can you tell me, are you seeing the setting clearly? And really direct that feedback to what you actually need. I had a lovely moment in class in Santa Fe with Dave a couple of years ago. And Dave was like, I know my book is too long. Show me where can I cut stuff? Because Dave has all these amazing stories about a horse that he raised and took care of and kind of bonded with. And I'm in there. I mean, you know me and my hatchet, Tony. And I'm like, okay, we're going to chop these 8 paragraphs. We're going to start 5 pages in here. And then we're going to chop this, this, and this. And that's a great story, but it doesn't go here. Save it for the next book. And Dave, I think you came out with a chapter 1 that went from about 7,000 words to about 3,000 words. And I think you were still pretty happy with it. Dave's got the chuckle. Dave's got the chuckle. So
So I'm
yes.
glad you're talking about live edits because those can kind of be scary. You said they're voluntary, correct?
Mm-hmm.
But what I have found is that not only are they incredibly helpful for the author who is being live edited, I think that it's one of my favorite ways to teach. It's one of the things I really liked when you and I talked, Allison, that you do those too. It is so valuable. I always say the best way to learn writing is by reading other people's stories. And all of us have more objectivity with other people's story than we do with our own. So the live editing to me is some of the best practice you can get in learning to see things in other stories where you do have some objective distance that you can then bring to your own. And I'm going to speak for you, Allison, because I know you as a human being. I joked the last time we talked that you bill yourself as the unkind editor, but I know you to be the same approach I have, which is positive, constructive. It's not tearing anybody down. The other thing I really like about the way you've structured the retreat is that the one-on-ones, you said people can also use that for individual live edits. So if there are people who want to get more kind of nitty gritty than is appropriate in the classroom or want to be a little more vulnerable with it in a one-on-one situation, I like that you've offered that opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, Tony, we can be vigorous. We can be very vigorous.
Vigorous but
It sounds
kind.
like you're fairly close to being generative, like we had with Dindy in our Kenyan workshop.
So, yes, it's a mix because typically with a craft lesson, we will say at the end of the craft lesson, okay, so here's what you can do now with what we've just done. You can apply it to your work in progress. You can work on something brand new that was inspired by what we just did today, like you and I did with Dinty. Or you can say, screw this, that was a great lesson, but I have something else that I am really jonesing to work on, and I'm going to dive into that. Because it's not like we're collecting homework, you know? So we want you to take the craft lesson and apply it in the way that is going to be the most useful to you.
Okay. But are you going to want to see any work before we get there?
We are not actually.
Okay.
So we will ask you, we'll give you a registration form when you pay your tuition, where we will ask you to say, this is what I'm writing. This is the genre it's in. This is what's going really well. This is where I'm experiencing challenges. And we get that before you come. So that'll help Tiffany and I
Got it.
tailor the lessons
Yeah.
to fit the people who
Good
are
deal.
there. Yeah, good, good.
Allison, I
Great.
see you answered a question in the chat, but for those who might be watching this in a recording and don't see it, Anne asks about arriving a day early because flights and travel are time factors. Can you weigh in on that?
Absolutely. So last year we had a couple of people who came early and were able to add an extra night to their rooms in the chateau. I believe there's a watercolor retreat the week before us. So it depends on whether or not that retreat is sold out. But there are Airbnbs and bed and breakfasts and hotels all nearby in Po as well. Or if you fly into Bordeaux or into Toulouse, you might want to take a day in Bordeaux or a day in Toulouse and then come after that.
Or
How
take the
far
watercolor retreat.
Or take the watercolor retreat. Tiffany?
how far is Clos Mirabel from Poe, and what is transportation for people who might want to go into town?
Clos Mirabel is 15 minutes from Pau by car, and there is a bus, but it's easier if you just call the local taxi. And the chateau has staff who will look after us and say, "Oh, you want to go into town? Well, so does so and so. So let's put you both into a taxi, and off you go." So yes, it's very easy to get into town, and I'll be there with a car as well. So if anybody's like, "Oh crap, I forgot my toothbrush," I can run you to the nearest drugstore, and we can get you, those little needs that you have. I'm really lucky. So Poe is only about a 12-hour drive for me. So we do it in 2 easy days, and my husband and I will drive up to Poe.
Oh, your life, Allison.
I know,
I have a
right?
question from my personal neurosis. I try to learn a little bit of a language anytime I go to a country, but I know in smaller towns you have varying success finding people who understand where you are deficient in the language. How French do we need to be when we go into Pau?
So this is where Google Translate is your friend. Poe's a small town, but like much of Europe, anybody under the age of 35 speaks decent English because they took it at school and because they watch American and Canadian media. Um, you know,
Oh,
so that helps an awful lot. I find that if you're like bonjour, and then so I know it in Portuguese, which is "Desculpe, o meu português é mau." Sorry, my Portuguese is really bad. Everybody laughs and then just
That's
talks.
that's always the
Um,
first phrase I learn anywhere I go. I'm sorry, I don't speak X. Do you speak English?
Exactly, exactly. But even if you just try reading it off your Google Translate on your phone, people are super kind and welcoming. They just want you to give it a little try at the beginning, and then they will meet you more than halfway. I can also tell you that as a very frequent traveler, my experience is that anywhere around the world that you would like to purchase something, they will figure out how to let you purchase it and give you the information that you need. So. Yeah, I know when I'm in India, every shop owner has a calculator and they punch the price into the calculator and show it to you so that you know exactly what you're talking about.
The international language, not love,
Exactly.
commerce.
Exactly.
Oh,
Oh,
Tony has a good question.
the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, reports a high level of anti-Semitism these days in France. Have you seen any of this in the Po area? So I have not, and I can say this too. So my husband is black. He's British, but he's black. And we find that when we're in France, when we're in rural France, we don't experience racism. Definitely not more than in America. Um, I'm not Jewish. So I can't speak for the personal experience of people who practice Judaism in France, but I do know that France was a refuge, in World War II for many people. I also know that we live in kind of a bubble when we're in Poe. It's a small town. It doesn't have a whole lot of political activity going on. It doesn't have a whole lot of, protests or anything like that going on. And our chateau is like our private little area where only the people in our group are. So it's very sheltered. I'm going to say it's very sheltered.
And I don't know how applicable this would be to Poe particularly, but on this cruise I was just on, it happened to be a Jewish heritage cruise. We were only in France for a couple of ports, but nothing that I saw or heard indicated that there was widespread problems right now with anti-Semitism. More, like Allison said, any more than you would normally get any other time. But for the most part, I think it felt very welcoming. There was a lot oriented around the Jewish community on the ship. So, I mean, in port,
Yeah.
like they went to places where they were out in the community, and nobody reported any problems.
Yeah. So we will go for just a few more minutes. Dave, do you have anything else you want to tell us about booking travel? I know in our follow-up email, we're going to send this recording. So hi, people listening on recording. Feel free to hit reply to this email and say that you have a question. Dave, anything we should know about booking travel?
I listed it in the chat already, but if you missed it, our services are free. We are paid by the suppliers, and whether you book with those suppliers or you book with a small business travel agent, you're going to pay the same price. The only caveat to that is airfare. Airlines are notorious for not paying travel agents, so we do charge a nominal fee for booking air, but that also gets you where we will handle booking the seats for you, choosing seats for you in consultation with you, handling your flights. If we see an issue because we are tracking the flights while you're in the air, we will be on top of it before you even land and discover that your connection has been backed up 4 hours or something. So you get all of that for that small nominal fee.
You bite your dirty
Absolutely.
tongue on backups for 4 hours, Dave.
And you
And
also get
really,
a
I think it depends on what your time is worth as well. So Dave and Karen also provide us with a custom app which lets you track all of the travel that you've booked. You can include all of your stuff in there. And if you prefer to book your own travel, that is just fine.
yeah.
But I find it so easy to just say, "Hey Dave, book me this stuff," and then I don't have to worry about searching 6 websites to find the very best deal.
Exactly. And you won't have to worry about searching 6 websites or 6 different emails to find the different pieces of your travel. And even if you don't book with us completely, as long as you book something with us, we will give you that customizable itinerary that lists everything all in one app that can be used whether you're online or offline.
Fantastic. Thanks, Dave.
I'm putting
Tiffany.
my email in the chat, Allison, in case people have questions they didn't get to or were too shy to ask. That's me. If you'll put yours in there too, people can email us directly. As you said, afterward, we're going to send out the follow-up materials on this and the recording if you're interested. So that'll also have our emails on it. But don't be shy to ask questions, and no question is dumb. I asked about bathrooms and sweaters and people speaking French. So allow me to forge the path of dumbness so that you don't feel like you are.
Yeah.
Cool. What else you got for
Yeah.
us, Allison? Anything, any parting words?
I mean, I just love the retreat because there is a cheese course at every meal, and I really love cheese. So, and I love that feeling of being in a bubble. You know, the world is a
Yeah.
crazy place right now, but our stories still matter. It still matters for us to write our stories and to share them with the world. And, you know, the only way out is through. And as writers, I think we have a moral obligation to show people that, yes, you can make it to the other side.
And I think there's something about allowing yourself to do a conference or a retreat or a class or anything that is honoring yourself as a writer. And I'm not trying to talk anyone into this because something like this is, of course, an expenditure. But that's what to me makes them special is that it's saying this, what I'm doing is important enough to pursue. Whether or not I always say a writing career doesn't mean you're supporting yourself from it. It means you are trying to share your writing on a broader level and do that in a sustained way for hopefully your lifetime. So, if this is something people are considering, that's what I think is great about it. That and the fellowship, the community of events like this, which is what I'm anticipating.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We will also send you links to a couple of videos of people talking at last year's retreat about the experience that they had and what they would recommend to writers coming this year. We're going to stick around just a couple more minutes in case anyone has any last casual questions, but thank you so much and bon voyage. I hope we see you in France.
Thanks, everybody.